Okay, so this is the presentation that I gave at our 2024 Made to Move retreat. It talks a lot about kind of why we do what we do, talks about the value of hard work, and ultimately, like, hopefully gets you, I guess, one step closer to understanding who we are and what Made to Move is all about. And so this presentation originally, when I gave it, it was interactive and had some questions and answers, which I'll kind of try to explain through as I go. But for the most part, right, like uh, hopefully you'll take away the big principles of what this presentation is all about. So first, Made to Move is, in my opinion, just really fucking special, right? And we aren't perfect and we definitely mess up. And just like all small businesses do, like when they're trying to grow and to change and to do all these amazing things, like, there are a lot of opportunities where I think we could do a lot better. But ultimately, like, I love this company. And I know that there's things that we can do differently, and probably everyone feels that we can do differently, but man, it's just a really awesome team. And it's a really awesome team because we are so passionate about helping others. And so from a very high level, I know that our entire team, and you wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't feel the same. Like I know our entire team is crazy passionate about helping other people and changing the landscape of healthcare, right? And so like I know and I want to inspire and help you understand that like together we can do that. And I truly mean that. And I know changing healthcare sounds crazy, but I really and truly mean it. Like I know that Made to Move will always relentlessly strive to make the lives of our patients and the lives of our community better. And then those two principles, like they are reflected in our mission and vision. So our mission, like we empower clients by giving them the movement freedom and removing barriers to their long-term health. And we inspire our community to prioritize their health so they can be strong, resilient, and adaptable. And so all of these things, like they're reflected in that. And they're reflected in the questions and answers that I prompted the team to talk about during this presentation. And so, like, I believe that we all have this passion. We have this passion to improve ourselves and therefore improve the company and then therefore improve the lives of others. And I wanted to make sure that everyone listening to the presentation at this point, like, do you agree? So ask yourself, like, do you agree? Do you agree with our mission and our vision and this like passion that kind of outflows from what we do? Because if you don't, then take a step back and ask yourself, like, truly, is this the right place for me? Because if it's not, then, I fear that the rest of the presentation, like, it won't really resonate and you won't feel truly in line. And so it's important and it has meaning. So take a second. Do you agree? Now, thinking about all of this, like, I'm not naive enough to think that Made to Move, our goal is simply to only improve the lives of our patients. Of course, that's a huge part of it, but it's not all of it, right? And so like in the medical world, it's like it's necessary, but it's not sufficient because we want to improve our own lives too. We want to improve the lives of our family, the lives of any employee that follows us. I talk with Hannah all the time, and it feels like that, to change healthcare for our patients and to change healthcare for our team and our providers, like they are equal. It's one A and one B. Because like shit, man, like yeah, of course I love our patients, but I love y'all. I love our team, right? I want to improve y'all's lives, our lives. And so again, like these two someday goals, if you will, they are one A and one B to us. And so, like, if you think about it from like the absolute highest vantage point possible, Our goals at Made to Move have two facets: to change healthcare for our patients and to change healthcare for our providers. And so now looking at Made to Move, it looks like this, right? Mission, vision, which we've already talked to, and then the two someday goals in bold. Made to Move is the go-to solution for people dealing with pain and injury in the area. Number two, Made to Move is changing healthcare by means of relationships in a way that creates opportunities for providers to do what they love, right? We want to make a bigger impact and be the go-to solution for people dealing with pain. We want to be this go-to, like, think about what that statement truly means, right? So it really means like for the individuals who already prioritize their health or want their health to get better, right? We want to be their healthcare provider. Full stop. We want to be the first person they call. We want to be this population's healthcare coach, healthcare ally, so that when they have a problem, they have a question, they can communicate with a made to move team member who they trust and who they have a relationship with. We want to create not only that, but we want to create amazing lives for ourselves and our families so that we can do what we love and really feel like we're making a difference. And like throughout all of this, like these goals, these someday goals, like, dude, we know it will be hard, right? We know this will be difficult. But oftentimes, the reason it is hard is the reason that it's worth it. It is worth it for us to pursue these goals, right? And so spend a moment, right? Spend a moment thinking, what does personal success look like to me? What do you want to accomplish in your career? Why are you doing what you're doing? I want you to legitimately pause this and think about it. Think about what does success look like for you? The next question I have for you is, are we aligned? So I just laid out kind of like this big, grandiose mission, vision, someday goals of Made to Move. Ask yourself, are the things that you just thought about, your personal success, right? What you want professionally, is it aligned with what Made to Move is after, right? And so if the answer is yes, we are aligned, that means, to be clear, that means that you and I both believe in the mission, vision, and someday goals of the company. Your personal aspirations, your personal goals are aligned with these things, and that you constantly want to improve so that it becomes unreasonable for us not to achieve these things, right? You want to set in motion this chain of constantly improving so that, wow, it would be unreasonable for us not to achieve what we want to achieve. And so all of this, like the reason why I'm spending so much time and so much like emphasis on all of this is because it matters. If like, again, like if we're not aligned here, like might as well turn off the video and stop watching because this is truly it. So take your time, think about it. Once you feel great, awesome. We'll move on. So like, okay, great. We're aligned. Now it's like, now what, Elliot? How do we do this? How do we do all these big things that you're saying? And so all we can really do, since, like we are often at Made to Move, we are often the spearhead. Like we're often leading from the front, right? And so in that instance, like there's nothing really we can look towards and emulate or things. Or obviously like there are bigger businesses than ours that we can take things from. But by definition, we're trying to change things. So therefore we can't copy anyone. We can't copy the things that are already being done. We have to do something different. And so truly, like if you truly are leading from the front, all you can really do is hypothesize. And so when I gave a presentation a couple of weeks ago, that would be December 2023. When I gave this presentation, I presented this hypothesis. And the hypothesis is that if we all level up, meaning if we all grow, and we all grow our, I gave some examples like our mindsets, our skill sets, our opportunities, our content, our professionalism. It's just kind of broadly, if we all get better, then we will make a bigger impact with our patients, with our communities, and we will make more money and create more opportunities for healthcare providers, right? This is our hypothesis for how we're going to go about doing these things. All the things that we just agreed to, that you just said you're in line with. This is our hypothesis of how we get to it, AKA it's work. It's hard work, right? And so with all of this, like it's very important to understand that like it's going to be hard. And again, that often means it's probably the reason that we should do it. And so I love this quote. And it says, "You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt." And so like this really, really struck me because like so many times like we do all of these things and we have all of these ways that we try to build confidence. And like with all just like all quotes, like they're kind of meant to like strike you a little bit so that you catch it so you have like your attention set on what the quote is truly trying to get across. So like we have all these things that can increase confidence and all of these things, but true confidence and conviction comes from having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Another quote that I really like is from Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. The obstacle in the path becomes the path. The work is the way. Never forget that within every obstacle is an opportunity to work to improve your condition. And so like both of these things, like they kind of like go hand in hand. And it what they're saying is like the way to improve your life, the way to improve your condition, the way to improve your confidence is to do the thing and to do the hard work. And so like another quote that I really love is like your work works on you more than you work on it. Meaning like the hard work, all of the things, all of the personal aspirations that you just thought of in your head, I'm telling you the obstacle is the way. And the way to reach those things is hard work because it makes you different. It makes you who you are. It makes you who you will be. It makes you confident and it improves your condition. So we agree. We believe in the mission, vision, someday goals. We believe that your personal aspirations are in line with these things. We believe that, you want to improve based on your answers to these questions and based on this presentation. And we believe that it's going to take work, and that work is likely going to be hard. Because in truth, it's hard to be different. When preparing for this, I kept being reminded of a conversation that I had with an employee that says, like it was kind of contexted around like, why don't we accept insurance? And like we chose deliberately not to accept insurance for a reason. And it's because like it's like we're choosing our own version of hard, right? Not accepting insurance presents its own challenges, its own hardships, right? But the inverse, accepting insurance, also presents hardships. And so, like, we just chose the hardships that we want to deal with, right? And so, like, when thinking about all of this, like, we we took a step back and we tried to really and truly think like okay, let's pretend like what does accepting insurance look like? Like what does that truly mean? And like is that the right decision? Like let's take stock. And so what we did was so we kind of played out the scenario of us taking insurance, right? And so what it looks like is this. What it looks like is A, if we accepted insurance, we would dramatically increase our patient volume dramatically. Because like we would remove pretty much the only barrier that people have to working with us, right? And so like it sounds kind of exciting. Like there would be so many people that flock to our doors and want to get help, and probably all of our providers would be full more than they could handle. And so like that sounds fun in a way, but we do have to consider a couple of things. And the biggest two are the reimbursement rates and the delay between service and payment. And so a couple of these things, I have links right here and we shared them in the presentation, so I'm going to pull them up here. And so the first one is like reimbursement rates. And so as you can see here, this chart goes from 2007 to 2023, basically when this presentation was given. And so like there is a very, very mild increase, as you can see. And actually from 2018, you can see most of these reimbursement rates are actually going down. They're trending in the wrong direction over the last 5 years, right? So 2018, $41 for Therac, down now to 37.62. And so like these are the top five most common physical therapy billable codes: Therac, NeuroReed, therapeutic exercise, gait training, manual therapy. And so like you can see basically the reimbursement rates from here. And so what's crazy is like there's a pretty steady decrease trending going on. And what's even scarier is like from this study was from 2001 to 2024, inflation, so like the economic inflation of the I guess like the US economy increased by 76%. Meanwhile, like we are at best having this mild increase. And honestly, in the last 5 years, we are having a pretty significant decrease in what we are reimbursed. So it's a double swing, right? There's this constant and ever-growing decline in the reimbursement rates, which is scary. Not only that, but like, if let's say we continue to treat for an hour, right? And we do an hour's worth of therapeutic exercise, which is very reasonable. Then, the reimbursement rate for a billable unit of that is $30, right? And so even if we do it for an hour, so that's times four, that'd be $120, right? And so, like, does anyone, like think about the math between that and, like our 10 session plan of care, right? Which at this current time of this video is 2190, 2190, right? How many sessions would we have to fit in a 10 session plan of care to just break even on this? And it comes out to 19, right? In other words, we'd have to fulfill 19 sessions to get reimbursed the exact same amount. And like, so like that means you'd have to double your caseload just right there, just to make the same exact amount. And like when I kind of walked through this, like it was so clear. Like, do you see why insurance clinics are having such a hard time, right? And so like not only does, doubling this, caseload like make it just really, really tough for the providers to provide a, quality care, but man, you're also doubling the admin work and the admin work of our like anyone billing or TAM in this case, like our client experience coordinator. Like you are doubling the work on everybody, right? And like not only that, but like you'd want to submit these claims as soon as possible. Why? Because of the delay, the second problem, right? Which if you remember, is the delay between service and payment. And so like this blew my mind. The average time to payment from an administrative claim, right? So submitting a claim for insurance is between 42 days and 137 days, right? In case you were wondering the average of those, it's 89 and a half days. That's insane. And so like, and that's not even considering the time it takes to submit the claim and submit it correctly, right? So even if you submit these claims and it gets kicked back, you'd have to start the process over. You'd have to like take it in, fix the billing, and resubmit, right? And so it could very easily be months. On average, it's 3 months for you to get paid for the services that you're providing, right? And so like again, this is why those smaller private physical therapy companies are just failing. That's the reality of it. It's almost impossible for them to stay open. And the only ones that do you know why? Like, have you ever heard of Upstream Rehab? Upstream Rehab is basically an investment company that basically buys up all of these little smaller insurance clinics because they have the capital to do so, right? And so they basically just buy up all these smaller clinics, put them under one umbrella, and so that then therefore like they can basically like handle the ever dropping reimbursement rates because they're this huge bloated company, and then they just like try to drive productivity through the roof, right? And so Upstream owns Benchmark, Dreyer, Results, and all these other ones, right? And then like Advent International, this is one I actually didn't know. So it's actually an investment firm, right? And so like you can look, and so just in healthcare, so like they have a bunch of sectors, right? But just in healthcare, they have all of these, and namely ATI, right? And so they have all of these companies that they've bought out. And so like it gives us a small understanding of like what is truly out there. Like what we are, I guess, like competing against, or what the standard of physical therapy is, right? It also gives us an understanding of why so many PTs are struggling and are burnt out because their caseload is unsustainable. Like it's a challenging landscape out there. And like that shit's hard. Everything's hard. I posted, so every year I post in the Doctor of Physical Therapy Facebook page because I like keeping up kind of with like what all is out there. And so I always post this question, basically trying to get an idea of like what do the masses think and feel is a sustainable caseload for a physical therapy. Um, and so like I try to phrase the question as safely as I can, kind of trying to imply like I do want this to be something that is sustainable. So I asked, hey, I'm hoping you get the knowledge of this really smart group by putting out this survey. Please vote. I own a clinic, and I'm hoping to get an idea is what is the most common caseload for providers. Please choose one of the options. This should be a reasonable, sustainable caseload that prevents burnout but pays the bills. And so, like as you can see, we've developed a nice little bar or a bell curve here, with the average being between 40 and 49 patients per week. And so, like, that's the standard, or like that's what's out there. That is what that's what providers now kind of expect. And like thinking about 50 patients a week, 49 patients a week, like just day in, day out, like, dude, that shit would be hard. And in my opinion, it would honestly be kind of miserable after a while, right? Like, I genuinely believe that both of these parties that we're talking about, patients and providers, I genuinely believe that it would be a worse quality of life for both of them. And it would be a worse quality of life just to make the same amount of money, if that. And so like that is insane. Quality of care would decrease. Like you can't tell me it would be better. Even the best intentioned physical therapists often get crushed by this system. And so then I know what you're maybe thinking is like, what about a hybrid clinic? And by hybrid, I mean like a clinic that takes some insurance and some cash, right? So like it kind of tries to play on both models, right? But they too have their own hardships. And so like by learning and basically trying to ask the question of like, how would you even start a hybrid clinic? I learned a couple of things. And so like a hybrid clinic is actually it's actually two clinics. It's actually two separate businesses trying to grow both businesses at the same time. In fact, legally, you must have two separate LLCs and businesses because like if one of your clinics, if a clinic signs a contract with an insurance provider, then like that insurance contract dictates that you must offer your patients access to that insurance. Like or else they wouldn't want to have a contract with you, you know? And so, you can't like pick and choose essentially like who you offer to accept their insurance and who you don't. Like if you have a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield, anyone who has that, you have to take it, point blank. Right? You couldn't choose to offer them a cash service, right? In other words, you can't discriminate who gets offered insurance coverage and who does not, right? And so essentially how this hybrid model works is you have your insurance business, and then after their plan of care, you refer clients to your cash business, right? And so you basically kind of have like a two-tier system, right? And so again, it would be like having an in-network clinic with all the hardships we just talked about, and then we'd refer ourselves to like maybe some sort of like continuity so that they could continue to get the care that they needed. And so, like, think about that hardship. Like, try to convince a patient who has just had their services covered by insurance previously working with you, and now you're trying to convince them to pay out of pocket. Like, that also seems hard. And so, like, the point of all of this is like what we do is hard, and it's hard any way you slice it. And so, like, the great part of being a small business is, again, you get to choose the hard work that you engage with, right? It's all going to be hard no matter what. So don't look for the easy way. And so like thankfully, like we get to choose what we pursue. And for us, it is our opinion that like we are going to choose the hard that we believe gets the patients the best outcomes and that is the most fulfilling and sustainably healthy work environment for our team. And so that is why we have chosen not to accept insurance. We are different and we want to help people prioritize their health. And we do this by fostering genuine relationships. We want to help people with exercise, with goal setting, with stress management, with nutrition, with everything. Like, not to mention, like, man, like, no way you can find the billable code for that, right? We want to help people get active and healthy for life. And that's hard. What we do is hard, but man, I would choose it every single time. I would choose what we do versus the alternative every single time. And so that is our version of hard. And so, like, if we aren't all that, right, what are we? And it comes down to this like, our version of hard is one, like I said at the beginning, our version of hard is one that requires constant growth from our team. We cannot be the cheapest. We cannot compete with insurance clinics on being the cheapest. We will lose. Therefore, we must be the best. There are only two options. We must strive to be the best. And being the best is hard, especially when you're competing with like these mega companies with infinite money or these mega hospital chains, right? Like with infinite resources. being the best is hard. But what's beautiful about what we do is we have two things that their volume cannot allow for, and that's time and relationships. We have the time to spend with our patients. We have the time to spend with our gyms. We have the time to spend in our community. We aren't crippled by the insane patient volume that they must keep up with just to break even, just to maintain their bottom line. And we have time to improve. We have time to improve ourselves. We have time to grow as people, grow as clinicians, take courses, learn, educate yourself, read articles. We have the time. Our entire company is based on this like idea of growth clinically and non-clinically, right? How can you do more with your time and leverage your time further, right? And so like one thing I like kind of remembering is work. Work is outputs, aka the things or services that are created, right? It's it's volume times leverage, right? How much do you do and how much did you get out of what you did? Like, for example, one way to like work at sales, one way to get better at sales is to do 10,000 sales calls a day. Like in some weird world where that's possible, like I promise you'll get better, right? You'll get better at sales. It would be unreasonable to think that you wouldn't get better. You'd probably be the best, right? And so like that's kind of the volume side of things. But then also there's this leverage side of things. Like how do you get more out of what you do? And that comes from learning from your mistakes and learning from other people, right? You're trying to leverage your resources. So like that could be reading, podcasts, right? Leverage the other things that people have done or experts have talked about. Leverage that so that it applies to you. How does blank apply to us? And how can we use it? Right? So that's time. We have time. It is a competitive advantage. And the other competitive advantage we have are relationships, right? Relationships are at the center of Made to Move. They're at the center of what we do. Like in the previous thing that I read, right? I'll read it back to you. We want to change healthcare by means of relationships. We believe that Made to Move can have the greatest impact on our healthcare system by leading by example. The example we want to set is one that shows that it is possible to have a relationship with your healthcare provider, and that healthcare should be holistic, goal-centered, proactive, and personalized. And so like looking back on 2023, like, man, I think we accomplished so many incredible things. So many, right? And like I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of everything, but I'm probably the most proud of the relationships with real people and that we were like always at the center of our community trying to do what's right and trying to help people, right? I couldn't ask for anything more. Like that makes me so proud, right? Our goals that we set back in 2023 at the retreat, right? They all revolved around growing deeper in the Charleston and Somerville area, right? We wanted to be the go-to solution for those people. And so my final statement in the 2023 retreat, the year prior, was this. Because we talked like in 2023 or in 2022, we talked about like, hey, maybe we want to grow big enough to where we can franchise. Like that sounds cool. But then in 2023, so last year, we were like, yeah, that sounds cool. But what would be even cooler is if we grew in the relationships in Charleston and Somerville. And so that was the conclusion. And so here was the last sentence, last statement, if you will. It's not to say that franchising isn't possible, because I firmly believe that it is. And maybe it can be both someday, franchising and, down here in Charleston. But to stay true to our vision of inspiring our community to prioritize their health, so that they can be strong, resilient, and adaptable, then we believe that we must fully invest in our community here in 2023. We want to be the go-to for people dealing with pain and injuries. We want to be the first person that they call. We want them to be able to have a relationship with a healthcare provider, a relationship with a Made to Move team member. And so again, like, go back to these someday goals. From this point forward in the presentation, you'll probably notice like our two someday goals are at the top of each slide. And so that second one, Made to Move, is changing healthcare by means of relationships. Like, it matters. It is our competitive advantage. Other companies cannot do this. We will do all the things. We will achieve our someday goals through relationships. Relationships with our patients, relationships with our community, with other providers. Because if you think about it, relationships and trust, those are the only things that compound over time more than numbers, right? Those things, relationships and trust, like that is how we will reach and achieve something so big like changing healthcare, right? We are going to achieve these someday goals because like we are going to make our service so good that outcomes flow and that our word of mouth booms. People will rave about you and they'll rave about Made to Move. And both of those things help you because of the relationship that you've set forth, that you've set in motion, right? They will rave. And both of these things, both raving about them, both raving about the provider and raving about Made to Move, because of the relationship that you have and the outcomes that have flowed from that, they both help you. And so again, like the compounding effect of relationships and trust over time, it's going to yield great outcomes, amazing word of mouth and reputation. And the more people that know and the more people that feel confident that you can provide the care that they want, that is how we grow and we grow and we grow. This is where I stopped the presentation because at this point we've been talking for a little bit, but I continue. And so this is kind of where we start talking about like, okay, we've got this idea and we're inspired and we want to do all of these things. And so that's great. And so now the crux of the issue is like, how do we do this? Yeah. And so if you're not familiar with who Sam Altman is, he is the creator and the founder of OpenAI, which is the company that created ChatGPT, right? First real success story of bringing artificial intelligence from like big world, like big technology world to the people. And I think that's really cool. They didn't do it with any marketing. They didn't do it with anything other than just like building an incredible product for the community to use in ChatGPT. And so, he also runs this like basically this incubator with in Silicon Valley where he basically is this coach for other entrepreneurs. And so this is a clip of one of his presentations where he talks about like how to be a successful business, how to be a successful startup, and I'm going to play it for you.
Okay, today I'm going to talk about how to succeed with a startup. Obviously, more than can be said here in 20 minutes, but I will do the best I can. The most important thing, the number one lesson we try to teach startups is that the degree to which you're successful approximates the degree to which you build a product that is so good, people spontaneously tell their friends about it. Startups always ask us for the secret to success. They always want to believe it's something other than this because this is really hard to do. But this is it. If you can build a product that is so good, people spontaneously tell their friends about it, you have done 80% of the work that you need to be a really successful startup. If you think about the most successful companies you know, Google, Facebook, whatever, you probably found out about them because a friend of yours said, you got to try this, it's great. So this is the bar, something that people love so much they tell their friends about it.
I love that so much because man, dude, like it is so true. And like there's like it's so easy to get wrapped up in like trying to do all these things and market better and all of these things to grow your business, to grow your small business. But like if you really if you really and truly take this like 50,000 foot view, the only thing that matters, the only thing is that you build a product or service that is so good that people spontaneously tell their friends about it. Again, people want to tell you that it's other things and it's not because that shit's hard, right? But it's the reality. It's the reality of the situation. And so like we have to do this. We have to make our product so good that people tell their friends about it. If you do that, he said 80%, but man, if you do that, I'd argue that it's not, you're 95% of the way there. And so in order to do this, in order to build a product or service so good that people spontaneously tell their friends about it, the first question is like, well, what is our service? What is our product? What do we sell? And so like I want you to take a moment and think. In our model, what do we sell? What's our service? What's our product? It's our opinion, and it's my opinion that we really sell two things. Our service and our product is this like conglomeration of two things. And those two things are an outcome and you, the provider, right? We sell an outcome, pain relief, getting back to doing, X activity, you know, getting back to playing this sport. We sell an outcome, getting out of pain and getting active and healthy. And then we sell a relationship with the healthcare provider because again, like that's our competitive advantage. That's something that no one else is selling. And so, in order to make a product so good that people spontaneously tell others about it, that means we have to make those two things so good that people spontaneously tell others about it, right? We have to make both of these things as amazing as possible. And so, let's start with you. So, starting with you, like, this is probably the toughest thing for a lot of new grads, a lot of young people in this game, in our model in particular, to understand. This is probably the hardest thing. And that is the reality of sometimes doing your best isn't enough because what's required is more than your current best. Like, real. Again, like sometimes doing your best is not enough because what is required is more than your current best. But like that's kind of the whole point of growth, right? If we were automatically good enough, we'd never need to grow. And like to be clear, to be super clear, it's not like good enough as in a sense of like your self-worth or your like existence as a human, right? But it's the task at hand or your ability to do X. Sometimes that's not good enough. Sometimes doing your best at that thing is not good enough. It's not good or bad. It just is what it is. Like it's okay. Like we fail. You will fail at this job 100% over and over. Like everyone fails. We fail. I fail. Shit happens. But what's really important and what the successful people in this job do and do better than most is they separate your self-worth from the task. And so like in other words, like it's a failure. It's a failure if it didn't work. What you tried didn't work. It would be a failure. But you're a failure if it's the last time you try to succeed at anything. And so like separate those two because in that little quote, it defines both things. It defines when the task has failed, and it defines when you are a failure, right? Because so often when we fail at something, we automatically ascribe that value to us. We automatically ascribe ourselves as a failure. And that just simply isn't true. And you need to separate those, right? Because this job, it, like I said before, it requires you to constantly be growing, constantly be putting in the hard work to improve yourself. It's hard and it's the way. And so then by definition, if you're constantly trying to grow and improve yourself, that means you perceive that you're not good enough or that there's always something better that you can do. And so like the gap in the gain talks about, like the people who are attracted to Made to Move, the people who are attracted to this job in particular, are people who have like really high bars and really high goals for themselves. And then, so like by definition, their goals are here and they are here. And so if that's the case, right, you have all these high bar, high goal things, you want to grow in this way. If you perceive the gap between these two things as being a failure, oh shit, I'm not way up here, right? Therefore, I'm failing, I'm a failure. Then you're never going to be happy because what happens is once you reach to this level, you just set a new bar and you set it up here. And so growth looks like this. You grow and your goals grow at the same rate. And so if you're perceiving this gap between you and your goals as you failing and you being a failure, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate life because you're perceiving yourself as a failure. And like that is no way to live. That's no way for a successfully high motivated, high engine, high dreaming person to live, constantly thinking that you're a failure. And like that shit sucks. And like if that's you, if I'm describing you, think about it, know it. Because like there are a lot of things that can stop you from reaching your full potential, but that's that's probably the biggest. Because you'll never grow. You'll be scared to grow. You'll be scared to set these high bars because if you don't reach it, you're a failure. So you have to separate. You have to separate your self-worth. It's a failure if it doesn't work out. And then you're a failure if it's the last time you try to succeed at anything. And so therefore, by definition, if you're if you're not done trying to succeed at something, then you're not a failure. Like set that definition for yourself or set your own definition, but know what it is. And don't be scared of that gap between where you are and where you want to be. This is also like where leveraging your time and increasing the volume of what you're doing will be very important, right? Back to, improving who you are in the part of the service or product that we're selling. Leveraging your time and increasing the volume of what you're doing will be a major component. And so you can think about it this way, where like you can stack all these like skills, traits, beliefs. You kind of like stack all these things together and like that's how you like improve or that's how you can level up, if you will, And the good news is like skills, traits, beliefs, like as you learn them, they'll like compound on one another, right? And so there's this pretty well-known business philosophy called the theory of constraints. And essentially what it is it's a methodology for identifying the most important limiting factor or the constraint, right? Identifying the constraint that stands in the way of achieving a goal. And then you systematically improve that constraint until it is no longer the limiting factor. Right. And so you just like, in other words, you find the constraint, you improve it till it's not the constraint anymore. And then you'll find a new constraint and you'll improve that. And like that's how this works. And so the reality of this situation is that all of us, you, me, my mom, everybody, you are bottlenecked by a constraint, right? You'll be limited by your weakest link, And so in this example, that those constraints could be a skill, it could be a trait, or it could be a belief. And so like if you kind of like sit and think and like maybe you can't think of any constraints right now off the top of your head, but I bet if you try to identify it, if you spend 5 minutes trying to identify your weaknesses, your deficiencies, I bet they'll present themselves to you. And so what we did in the presentation is we spent 3 to 5 minutes kind of just brainstorming our deficiencies. It was humbling. One of my deficiencies I'll share with you. And so, I have a belief deficiency because in a lot of senses, in a lot of actions, I believe that I'm a better leader, I'm a better manager than I truly am. Right. And one of my favorite quotes right now is like, you know, 90% of success comes from constantly and consistently doing the obvious thing for an uncommonly long period of time without convincing yourself that you're better, you're smarter than what you are. And so like I believe that like, when Made to Move started having like very minor success, that I'm like, oh shit, like I've got this figured out, right? I'm smart, right? We're doing great. And like that belief actually can like bottleneck, or like that ego can bottleneck my drive, my passion to do more and to think and to grow, because like you kind of get lackadaisical, you kind of get complacent. And like that's a belief deficiency. I believe that I'm a better leader than I am. And that belief caused me to have this constraint in my business. It's a deficiency. So again, you two are bottlenecked by a constraint, right? You two are capped or constrained by, your weakest link, and you will grow once you identify and remove it. And so like skills, traits, beliefs, like it's just kind of a framework to think about it. And so like don't get super caught up into like identifying which bucket this deficiency lies in. Just know that I have this deficiency and I should improve it if I want to grow. And like the good thing about this thing too is like these things are not binary. They're on a continuum. It's a sliding scale, right? So it's not like whether or not you're a good PT, like yes or no. It's like how good are you, right? And so like don't it's like, oh well, like I'm a bad, like I am only egotistical. I'm only a bad PT. Like no, it's a continuum. And like, deficiency is like this was a hard part of the presentation. And like that's okay, because doing the things that are hard, they make you grow and they make you a better provider. And more importantly, like they make you a better person, right? And again, like I said, like all of these things, like they compound, they add to one another. And so we did this exercise where, basically we stacked all of your skills. And so like this is a good example. Like, this is a generic example, like where someone is good at math. That's the skill that they start with. And so like if they're good at math, maybe they learn the skill of bookkeeping, and then they learn the skill of accounting, right? And like those compound and those kind of build on one another to where they get a job with like tax strategy or like tax things. And then they learn the skill of selling. And so they sell insurance, right? And so now they are compounding all these skills that kind of build on one another to the point where like they can have a bigger and better opportunity in like creating deal structure for bigger and better companies, or even like some like capital allocation or money management, right? And so like all of these skills kind of grow and develop and they stack on one another. And so like I think it'd be wise if you also tried to like kind of walk yourself through like where have I been, and where am I going? Like what are the skills that I have and what are the skills that I need, right? What is my skill stack? And more importantly, what are my constraints and how can I get rid of them? Okay, I'm gonna pause. Um, and so, you know, back to I guess like reel it back in. We are still in this presentation, we're still trying to provide, we're still trying to figure out how do we provide a product or service that is so amazing that people will tell everyone about it, because that's 95% of the business, right? And again, what is our product and service? What do we sell? We sell you and we sell an outcome, right? And so we've talked a lot about you. Let's talk about providing an amazing outcome. And so like being a PT, like man, like we have a hard job. We have a hard job filled with pain, with complexity, with human interaction, with nuance, with different personalities, and like health. Health is hard. Being a healthcare provider means that you are committing to doing your absolute best for your patients every single day. That means the job is never finished. That means always learning, always growing. And again, that shit's hard, but that's the point. And most PTs, like we've identified, either don't have time to do that or don't have a relationship with their patient so that they know what to do. Look at the balloons, right? They don't have the relationship sufficient enough to truly be able to help this person. Time, relationships. However, we do. We have those two things, right? And we can be master time allocators, right? And like the only thing that can boost your time is leverage, is getting more for what you do, right? And so my second hypothesis for you is that if I leverage my time better to becoming a better clinician and a better person consistently, then I will always provide an amazing service. I will always provide an amazing outcome. And so like if you're someone who struggles with like imposter syndrome or that thing, like in we can talk about imposter syndrome, because like I believe that imposter syndrome truly just means that you care enough to want to always make your product or service better. You have this like insecurity that what you're doing isn't good enough. And like if you really like boil that down, it means that you just want what's best for the patient. And I think that's amazing. I think imposter syndrome has deficiencies and it leads to some negative thoughts. But like the root of it, I truly believe is actually positive, right? And so the hypothesis is that if I leverage my time better to be a better clinician, a better person, then I will always provide an amazing service. And that's what we want. We want the service that people spontaneously tell their friends about it. And so we have the gift of time, right? And the way I want you to think about time is just helping future you. How can I use the time that I have now to help future you? You could reflect, you could read a book, listen to a podcast, take a CEU, watch YouTube courses, like do whatever. Leverage your time to be better you, to be better like at providing outcomes is what ask yourself, like, is what I'm doing right now, is it going to help me? And like, are your actions and what you're spending your time on, are they in line with the goals that you've set for yourself? Is the action that I'm choosing helping me get closer to my goals? What can I learn so I can be a better blank? What can I do now that is going to increase my reputation or increase the goodwill that I'm providing to the community, you know? And so I kind of talked about it. I kind of talk about I kind of talk about it this way. So um you kind of have these things in in business where you have the thing that you sell, right? So your product or your service. And then what happens next is you market that thing, right? You try to advertise or tell other people about it. And so like that's advertising. It's like you try to spread, right? And then you make money. You make a sale, right? So it's a product, marketing, sale. Product, market, sale. But what kind of happens is like if you don't build a product or service that is good, or in this case is so good that people speak positively about it, then you're going to have a really hard time marketing it because you'll have to do all the marketing. No one's going to talk, no one's going to spontaneously tell their friends about it, right? You'll have to do all of the marketing. And what's scarier is, furthermore, if you build a product or service that's bad, then actually people will speak negatively about you. And you'll have to market your way out of that hole. You'll have to market against your negative word of mouth. Because true enough, like your reputation precedes you. You are either compounding momentum in the positive direction or the negative direction. AKA, like with every plan of care that you sell, it will get progressively easier or progressively harder to sell another, right? And like that's just the truth of the matter. And so like another way to put it, I love visuals. And so this is a visual I think is really, really great. And so this visual is called like the price to value discrepancy. So in other words, you have this line that is value, and you have this horizontal line that's your price. And so as long as the value is above what you're charging, aka if I get, have this thing that people believe is like $5 worth of value and I'm selling it for $1, people will always buy this thing, right? Because they get $5 worth of value for only paying one, aka the discrepancy or the surplus is $4 in this example. And they will always keep buying until they no longer are getting the value worth the price that they paid. And like if you inverse it, so going viral is when this value is like infinitely higher than the price. And that's usually because the price of something viral is almost zero, right? They it a video, a funny video spreads like wildfire on the internet because the price is just like a couple of seconds of attention and the value is something very funny. And so like something goes viral, right? And so essentially like the bigger that you make this gap, this gap between value and price, the more likely people will tell their friends about your service. When I say that like trust and relationships and these things, like that is like a lot of these things are building towards your that surplus. They're building towards that reputation, right? And when I said back like earlier on, like those things compound faster than revenue, this is what I mean. They compound faster than numbers, right? Because you have so many people basically like vouching for you that like you can't possibly outmarket that, right? Because one people tell two, tell five, tell 10. That compounds exponentially more than you could ever do on your own. goodwill and that surplus compounds faster than revenue. And so by that line of thinking, if you just focus on like building your reputation and just like providing an amazing amount of value, then you will get a disproportionate amount of return in the long run because of that compounding effect. This is why this is why going above and beyond in the level of service we provide is so important. All of these things, all of the things that you do, they go into that surplus of value and price from your eval to your plan of care, to your follow-ups, to your interactions, to your body language, your every interaction that you have, your communication, your emails, your all of the automated emails, your marketing, right? Being on time, being an encouraging, smiling provider, right? Being someone who's an encouraging presence in the community. It all matters. It all compounds, right? And what is compounding? What is compounding's greatest asset? It's time. The longer you do it, the better it gets, right? And so like if 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 what I'm saying is true, then like you have to also subscribe to the fact that like this compounding of all of these interactions, like it's gonna take time. And like spending that time is definitely hard, right? And so like there's another little chart that kind of like illustrates the value of like this is going to take a lot of time, or why it's so important to stick with it is because like this is a chart that describes starting something new, really. And so you start with this like uninformed optimism about your new thing. Let's say you start a business in this example. You're like, this is going to be amazing, right? I'm going to have all of these things I saw on the internet that like, starting this business is going to be great, right? Start it like trying to grow my caseload, it's going to be great. You have all this uninformed optimism. And you start going and you kind of like realize like, oh shit, man, like, dang, like this is harder than I thought. This is providing its own hardships, right? This is again, like we talked about it all the time, like this shit's hard. And then you get to this point where you are informed and you have this informed pessimism. Like, man, I thought the grass was going to be greener on this side and it was not. It is hard. And you kind of like work yourself into this valley of despair, like, oof, man, I'm just getting beat up by this new opportunity, right? But then at some point you're going to learn like, okay, like I understand the hardships and I'm going to continue on, right? Knowing the hardships. And so you start having this informed optimism again, and that leads to achievement. And so like I'm basically trying to get us to this point as quickly as possible, right? I'm trying to get us like, hey, we talked about all this. It's going to be hard. And this is why it's hard, but like now that we know that, like we know that we have to be striving to be the best and we have to grow. Informed optimism. And that is our route to achievement, right? The problem is, and like why I bring this up now is because like we're talking about the value of time and its effect on compounding. So like let's say you start doing all of these things, but then you get to informed pessimism and the value of despair, and like shit is hard. And you just like quit or give up or start over or start a new thing. What you're going to do is you're going to go through this whole roller coaster and you're going to get to the valley of despair and you're going to quit, you're going to start over, and the new thing is going to be back at uninformed optimism. And so you're just going to be living this cycle of uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, valley of despair, and then back over and over and over again until you understand the value of time and compounding and how it can work for you. And so, like, all this is hard work, right? And so you can't get discouraged when your word of mouth and your marketing efforts haven't paid off yet. You have to zoom out. Your lens is too small. And so like we did this at the retreat, but these are just some things, some ways where we can try to make our service, our product better, right? And so like we can add things, we can add products, add services, add access, add media, add support, right? Like these are just a bunch of questions. And so there's this presentation that I watched and I really loved it. And so one of the questions was it'll go through it, but like what would we have to do to 10x the price that we charge? AKA, like, what would we have to change about what we do in order to really and truly make it worth it? And so I want to play that clip for you.
Awesome. And so I want to wrap up my presentation with a quick demonstration of leverage in the real world, getting more out of the same thing. Okay, so we're going to do an exercise to wrap this up. And I think that it will do more than anything I could say with these slides. This will probably be what you remember, unfortunately, with all my pretty pictures. So I'm going to take a single action and increase the leverage in real time in front of you. Is that cool? So you'll see a before and after in front of your eyes, like a real world money magic trick. Okay. So I gave you a lot of examples of things you can improve in a business: better calls, better content, better sales scripts, better website, better follow-up, better offers, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight just one of these things, all right, for you right now, and show you how many riches lie unlocked within your business today that you already know about. So I'm going to focus on offers because it's an easy one I can do in front of everyone. All right. So I'm going to show you the leverage of a better offer. So I'm going to sell you a book for $100,000. Just kidding. $1,000. So the point of leverage is a better offer. Sorry, the point is leverage of a better offer. One action, selling, one product, a book. Leverage is how much money it fetches for the same activity. Does that make sense? Our equation, does it make sense? Okay. Here are the directions for this activity. The moment you feel that $1,000 of value has been created, please stand up and stay standing. Okay? Does this make sense? This is simple directions. You feel $1,000, then stand and stay standing. All right. I'm repeating it. 100,000, just kidding. Typo. So let the leverage building begin. I have 10 books with me today. Who wants one for $1,000? Raise your hand or stand up. Wow. Thank you. Stay standing. 3 people already have $3,000. Isn't this exciting? All right. I didn't even tell you what it was yet. It's a really good book. Probably giving it away. Who now wants it? I said it was a really good book. No more people. Okay. Everybody is Tony Robbins. How you doing out there? Middle of the storm.
I can't believe
so
this.
crazy right now with inflation and so much uncertainty in the world.
You gotta be kidding me.
Still 3 people.
Unbelievable.
There we go.
That's gonna be a
4
funny
people.
part
Aha.
of this video.
It's my book, right? Now I got 1 more, 2 more, 3 more. All right, 4 more. We got 8, 9, 10, 11. I've already accounted for my books, but just wait. There's more. So I said, who wants one of the 10 for 1,000? Right? We got all these. Cool. There's all the reviews. People say it's good. Very good rating. Please stay standing. It's also number 1, number 4, and number 7 for the last 13 straight months. Pretty cool, right? In marketing and sales. I think it's pretty dope. Please stand up. This guy read the book and quadrupled his monthly revenue just from reading the book. You quadrupled your revenue, would that be worth it? Ah, yeah. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, a lot more. Okay, this is it. Wow, probably have 40 or 50 of them. Okay. Oh, wait, there's more. Going to autograph the book. There's only 1 that I have autographed. Actually, that's not true. I think there's probably like 5. Oops. I had to get a really fat marker so you could see it. That's actually my it's embarrassing. Not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. You gotta stand. You gotta keep standing. Gotta keep standing. 1 out of 10. I'll put my personal cell phone inside. $1,000. I'm not going to show it to you. All right, we got about 2/3. Okay. I'm gonna review 4 of your sales calls, rewrite your script with you, and drill your sales team on how we set everything up. Does that work for $1,000? Stand if that's worth it for you with the book. Please stand. I'll have my traffic guy, who right now we get about 20,000 leads a day across our portfolio. He'll do an entire funnel breakdown. It's about 11 pages. He'll break down everything that you could do differently within the funnel, different headline split tests, different paragraphs, different copy things, different images, different layouts. Right now we average way more than 2x, but I feel confident saying we could double your traffic. All right, we're close. We're like 90%. I'll also use my network to recruit the one missing star player that you have in your company. So right now we will look at your company and we will find out what the biggest missing piece is in leverage and put someone in there for you. Stand up if that's worth $1,000. I'll also spend 2 hours with you on the offer that you're giving right now, so you can get more people to click, more people to sign up for the calls, more people to show, more people to buy, and at higher prices. All right. I think I got like one person still seated. I see you. I see you. See what I got. I see what I got. I see what I got. I'm also going to feature you on my channel. So that 2 hours, we'll televise it and we'll distribute it across all of our channels. So right now that gets about 10 million impressions. So in real advertising dollars, about $100,000 in advertising, just for in terms of, that's what people are willing to pay for 3 90-second spots. And it's a 30-minute spot. So it would be significantly higher than that. So if that's worth $1,000, let me know. By standing is how you do that. And if you don't make 3 times what you pay me for this book, I'll give you all the money back and keep all the work that we did. That work? Measured over 12 months. That's the fine print. Fair? Please stand if that's still worth $1,000. I see you.
I think that's so cool because it really illustrates like how if you truly think about the question or like the mental exercise of like what would we have to do to 10x the price that we charge? What are all of the things that we could add? I think the results are just limited by our own creativity. I think it truly is just like limited by like what we can do. And I think that hopefully that's what you are taking away from this. And so again, the purpose of this to conclude is how can we make our service so good that people spontaneously tell other people about it? And my hope is that you understand that it's going to be hard work. It's going to involve you growing as an individual, you growing as a person, and then us trying to always try to make our outcome as good as possible. And because you're someone who think about back to your personal success, because you're someone who wants all of these things for their patients and they want all of these things for yourself, then I hope we are aligned in that. I hope we are aligned because this is our passion. This is Made to Move. It is a company filled with like-minded individuals who are constantly growing and constantly striving to be better for our patients and be better for you and your family. That is the company. That is what we do. And that is the mission and vision of Made to Move.